Singapore. The history of Singapore. During the British era, English was established as the language of commerce, although Malay, the Little Chinese, and Tamil were also spoken. In the post-war period, English increased in education. During the self-government period, four official languages were established: English, Mandarin, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. Since the 2000s, English has become the dominant language in education, business, and government. Japan takes control of Singapore, and this turns into a period of violence due to fighting. Singapore has political autonomy, and Lee Kuan Yew becomes prime minister, making significant changes to the country on the politics. Singapore focuses on economic, educational, and infrastructure development. Singapore became a global powerhouse in technology, economy, and leadership. Key cultural aspect for business. Punctuality is considered a sign of respect and professionalism. Arriving late to a meeting can be seen as a lack of seriousness. And formal communications and professionalism, business communications style and typically formal, respectful, and direct, but not confrontational. Professionalism is expected in both verbal and non-verbal interactions. Multicultural influences. Singapore is a multicultural country with Chinese, Malaysian, India influences. Therefore, therefore, it is important to be respectful and aware of culture differences during meetings and negotiations. Long-term relationships. Singaporeans prefer to build strong, lasting business relationships. Trust and credibility are essentials for long-term business. Another is in Singapore, order and organizations are highly valued. This is reflected in both society and the workplace. Companies operate with clear structure and well-defined processes.
Okay, theories of intercultural communication. In this case, Singapore. Singapore scale hard on this dimension a score of 74 with a Confucian background. The Chinese they normally have a syncretic approach to religion, which is also the dominant approach in Singapore. One of the key principles of a Confucian teaching is the stability of society, which is based on unequal relationship between people. Okay, let's talk about Singapore culture. It's pretty interesting. For example, intercultural communication. The first one is power distance. Singapore scored high of power distance 74. Many people accept and expect power to be unevenly distributed. and this lends to centralized power and reliance on bosses and rules. Communications tends to be indirect, and info sharing is selective. People generally have a formal attitude toward management. The individuals and collective. Singapore is collectivist, 43, focus on we over I. People belong to groups like families, clans, or organizations that look out for each other in chains for loyalty and motivations and success. Singapore leans toward continuous score 48, valuing a softer respect of culture like they emphasize humanity and modesty, and governments shared values include community support and respect for individuals. Continue to explore some more aspects of Singapore's culture and intercultural communications. Uncertainty avoidance. Singapore scores very low on this one. Is A, meaning Singaporeans aren't particularly threatened by ambiguous or unknown situations. Interestingly, they follow many rules, but due to high power distance than I need for structure, Singaporeans call their country a fine country. You'll get a fine for lots of things. Long-term orientations. Singapore has a high score on long-term orientations, 67, reflecting a pragmatic culture like that values like relationships, ordinary by status, drift and effective use resolves, and senses of duty and shame. The indulgence versus restraint with a score of 46 is hard to say if Singapore's indulgent or restraining reward control of desires and impulses. The culture seems main point on dimensions. Okay, continue with stereotypes to deconstruct of Singapore. Singapore's fascinating place, but like anywhere, it has some stereotypes that don't always reflect reality, like common stereotypes about Singapore are people are distance. Singaporeans' mind seems busy, but they're generally friendly. The next one is only for guilty tourists. Though it can be perceived as Singapore offers experiences for different buckets. The next foods just curry and hawker centers. The cuisines diverse with Chinese, Malay, Indian influence and more reflecting its multicultural mix. Um, a strict or authoritarian place. The countries allowed and fines like for leading lead some to think this way, but it's more complex reflects a focus on discipline and order. The reality is Singapore is a place with lots of cultural reneges on diversity, stereotypes oversimplify and don't capture the countries and people's complexity. It's a destination with plenty to offer from a efficient infrastructure to a vibrant culture blend.
The role of English in Singapore is fundamental both everyday life and in business, education, and government. The official language is English, although there are four other languages, but it is in the primary language of government, business, and education. The education system is primarily taught in English, so the majority of the population is bilingual or multilingual but has mastered English for an early age. A common language between cultures that allows for communications and coexist, and it is a multicultural country. In the business world, English is important. It is the language used in the milling and negotiation, especially with foreign companies. English in Singapore is not only of official language, but it also the primary means of communication in all important areas of the country, especially in business. Access to the global economy as an international language, English allows Singapore to connect in areas such as the trade, technology, finance, and tourism. The, the use of English facilitates the arrival of multinational companies, investors, and foreign workers. This makes Singapore a global business center. Most media outlets are in English, keeping the population up to date of international news.
Okay, positioning the language, official language of Singapore. The first one is English. It is one of the official languages of Singapore and is with the uses and government administration, educations, business, and the media. The next one, the second one, is Chinese with Mandarin. Mandarin is another official languages of Singapore and is quite spoken among the Chinese community, which constitutes the majority of the country's population, along with Chinese. Malay, it is the national language of Singapore and is also used in government administration and politics. And the last one is Tamil. It is the fourth official language of Singapore and it is mainly used among the Tamil community, which it is a significant ethnic uh, minority in the country. And that's it for the final presentation of the subject Master in English. We hope the teacher enjoyed our presentations and thank you for watching.